with an update on plans for CM Punk and AEW and more. This is Wrestling Hub. My name is John and you're watching the Wrestling Report for August 19th. Before we get into the rest of the video, make sure you subscribe to Wrestling Hub and turn on all notifications to stay up to date with everything in the world of pro wrestling. Also, don't forget to follow us on Instagram at Wrestling Hub Official and follow us on Twitter at Wrestling_Hub. For the 2020 Women's Survivor Series match, Shayna Baszler would end up disqualified before Bianca Belair and Nia Jax were counted out, which led to Lana being the sole survivor without even having to wrestle. On Busted Open Radio, Lana revealed her reaction and how plans changed leading up to the bout. A funny story about the payoff going through tables courtesy of Nia Jax. Survivor Series came and Nia was supposed to put me through a table in the middle of the match, and that had to change because of politics. I'll leave it at that. We had all this crazy stuff planned. We had planned, Bayley was excited about, Bianca, everyone was super excited. I was going to be doing a bunch of wrestling. We get there and then Vince changes everything. He pulls TJ and is like, I don't want Lana in the ring at all. She is just going to stand there and win by countout. TJ at least fought for me to get in the ring and do a little bit of wrestling in the middle of the match. You have to give it a little bit, he fought for that, and thankfully it happened. I still won by countout and I was devastated, literally devastated. I'm crying to Pat Buck. I ran to the corner and I was acting dramatic. You girls are so dramatic. Most of us boys would be like, yeah, I don't have to get in. I'm crying in the corner. I call Natty. She comes to me. I'm just winning by standing there. You're still winning. It's okay. I just want to prove myself. I want to wrestle. Natty, Pat, Miro, TJ were like, calm down. You're still winning. That was an example of how much I wanted to wrestle. I didn't want to win in those situations, which is pro wrestling. So maybe I shouldn't have been so emotional. I wanted the chance to prove. I was a babyface at the time. I just wanted to wrestle and show what I was training for. With him making his return to WWE on SmackDown, former NXT champion Karrion Kross spoke on After the Bell about his initial release from the company last year, saying, "It was the first time I had seen my family in about 2 years because they were out in New York. We were visiting the East Coast and I got the call. Both of us got calls on my way to dropping her off at the airport and there was literally no time to discuss anything. She was getting out of the car to take a flight home back to Orlando from Newark. We got the calls from the car. It was just a lot of mixed emotions because that's not a place we ever wanted to land or a situation we ever wanted to be in. At the same time, it was a relief because we knew that we were not doing our best work." Recalling a rehearsal prior to WrestleMania 18, Chris Jericho revealed to Inside the Ropes that he had an urge to knock Vince McMahon in the head. I remember one time we were rehearsing it, me hitting Triple H with a sledgehammer, and Vince would want you to rehearse it as if it's real. You can't rehearse if you're really doing it because there's no crowd. The crowd is where you get the vibe and the adrenaline, and your whole energy comes from that. Vince would be like, do it harder, and I'm like, I'm not in the moment yet. And I remember he goes, oh, you don't want to do it? What are you on the rag or something? I remember thinking, you big-eared, big-nosed mother effer, I'm going to punch you right in your stupid face right now. Knock that toupee right off his head. Speaking of Vince McMahon, there were many reports prior to his departure from WWE that he was ripping up scripts the day of Monday Night Raw. But former head writer for the company, Brian Gewirtz, told Wrestling Inc., no script was ever ripped in my presence when I was there. I remember in 2012 when I was able to take a part-time job with WWE, the process was far less dramatic than what some reports would have you believe. Ideally, when it comes to SmackDown on Fridays and Raw on Mondays, some version of the script and hopefully one that remains intact is done before you show up to the arena. While Mr. Kennedy would end up losing his Money in the Bank contract during his time in WWE, Matt Hardy revealed on his podcast that Kennedy was supposed to defeat The Undertaker in 2007. Undertaker was going to be out to have surgery. The initial plan at that time was for Ken Kennedy to cash the Money in the Bank in and win the title from Taker, but some things happened at that point that ended up changing. The reason Vince decided to have me go out and beat Mr. Kennedy at that point was that whenever he won the world title, he would have a competitor, someone to work with automatically. So I was being set up for a world title program with Ken Kennedy, who was going to defeat The Undertaker for the championship. But if I'm not mistaken, I feel like Ken got hurt. I think he got hurt, and then he had to drop the Money in the Bank to Edge, who beat Undertaker. Talking about the late Ultimate Warrior being in the WWE Hall of Fame, Ric Flair gave his reasons for why Warrior shouldn't be in the Hall on his podcast. I mean, here's the deal. You hold up the company, then you sue them, which he did, and then you end up in the Hall of Fame. There's a lot of people in the Hall of Fame that are there for, I can't figure out any rhyme or reason why it would be, other than political stuff has gone awry politically, and they're always wanting to heal damaged situations, which I admire them for. But it certainly doesn't mean that someone needs to be in the Hall of Fame. To me, that should be based on skill, ability, and what you've done in the business. Staying on the topic of the Nature Boy, Brian Gewirtz noted on ad-free shows that Flair could be the reason promos in WWE became even more scripted. There might have been an incident in Madison Square Garden once when Ric Flair went off script that got Vince a little heated about when he had said, and said, "Damn it, from then on, I need to know what every single talent is going to be saying going out there." That was in MSG with lots of corporate sponsors, and when he said that he has made virgins bleed, there was a noticeable shift in the amount of approval process growing from that point. With New Japan Pro Wrestling announcing Kota Ibushi would be penalized for breaching his contract for an appearance previously, it seems the two sides may not come to terms on a new agreement. As Dave Meltzer said in the Wrestling Observer newsletter, for whatever it's worth, the talent believes that Kota Ibushi is not coming back. We haven't heard anything from the Ibushi side on this. As Kota hinted at making his way to AEW over a week ago, it remains to be seen what's next for him. Taking to his After the Bell podcast, WWE commentator Corey Graves explained why WWE has been emphasizing the third hour of Monday Night Raw. I'm going to pull back the curtain for you a little bit. We as WWE, as a publicly traded company, spend a ton of money on research, development, your following ratings, your watching viewing patterns, when people tune in, when people tune out, what they like to stay for, and what makes them stay longer. There's a lot of research that goes into how we build these shows and how we lay them out. I don't think I'm giving away any trade secrets that I think around the 10 o'clock hour you'll notice it's happened for the past several weeks. Not just this past week. Going all the way back to the countdown to Cody was coming on at about the 10 o'clock hour, because that's the meat of our viewership. That is when our viewership is the strongest. That is when people really look for the biggest bang possible. So we've been trying to deliver that rather than trying to string them along for that extra hour. For that third hour to where the third hour, you'll still see tons of it, and Monday night was no exception. We ended with Theory and Ziggler with a 3-seg pay-per-view matchup, so you're still gonna get that additional main event, but as far as attracting the largest amount of eyes possible, 10 o'clock right now seems to be really the sweet spot. So you're gonna see, I think, and to the best of my knowledge, some high profile things going down in that 9:50 to 10:10 window going forward, because that's when the most eyes are on the product. Of course, you want to make sure that everybody hangs around. You want to give them something to say, well, I'm not tuning out now, but there's a reason for all that and how it's going down. 3 hours, man, that's a long time. A lot of weeks would go by where it felt like we were sort of in a holding pattern, for lack of a better term. This feels very much like, hey, the machine is in motion, try to keep up. That's where I feel we're at right now. We are barreling towards Clash at the Castle. Karrion Kross shocked the world. He's mixed up with the Drew McIntyre-Roman Reigns situation. There's all sorts of uncertainty, there's surprises galore, new faces seeming to show up week after week. Hit Row returning Friday night on SmackDown, shout out to AJ. We've had him here on the show, he's a blast. Big money waiting to be made there. I just think everything about the pace, the feel, the vibe, it's very different and refreshing. It just feels faster. Everything about Monday Night Raw from my perspective, I no longer look at my phone and go, oh my god, we're only halfway there. I look at my phone and go, wow, it's main event time, or this is right around the corner. It makes it feel faster to me in that role, which I imagine to fans makes it a lot easier to digest and watch. With NXT UK being shut down for the time to focus on NXT Europe, PW Insider has now provided an updated list of talent that were let go from WWE. Amir Jordan, Danny Luna, Dave Mastiff, Amelia McKenzie, Primate, Nina Samuels, Rowan Raja, Shaw Samuels, Sid Scala, Trent Seven, Ashton Smith, Jack Stars, T-Bone, Tiaman, Flash Morgan Webster, Wild Boar, Kenny Williams, Amali, Mark Andrews, Zaya Brookside, Eddie Dennis, Saxton Huxley, and Sam Gradwell. With Sasha Banks and Naomi suspended from WWE following their walkout prior to Raw a few months back, it's been reported that the two have already agreed on a deal to return. Now, Banks has taken to Instagram to say she will rise. As MJF has not been seen on AEW television since his pipe bomb promo asking to be fired, the Wrestling Observer has pointed out that he's supposed to come back. MJF is currently scheduled to be returning somewhat soon. We don't know the exact time, but the negotiations for a new TV deal will likely be taking place starting in just a few months and into the spring. So the TV ratings numbers, probably September to whenever the deal is closed, are the most important to date, so this recent drop is the worst time to have a drop. CM Punk seems to be in hot water in AEW. During Dynamite on Wednesday, Punk reportedly cut a shoot promo on Hangman Page, calling him out to the ring, knowing he wasn't supposed to make an entrance. It was even noted that Punk had a problem with Page's previous promo about him, and eventually told AEW higher-ups at the time he would not lose to Page. Regardless of the drama and rumored threats of Punk quitting, the Observer claims that the company still has the same plans for All Out. Currently, the September 4th All Out pay-per-view has CM Punk versus Jon Moxley for both belts. This is not announced and not 100%, but it is being talked about as the current plan, and there doesn't appear to be a backup plan. Speaking of the drama in AEW, the Observer also noted that many stars in the promotion are at their breaking points. Right now, there is a ton of backstage drama involving many of the top guys that has gotten much worse in recent weeks. There's a part of me where I just think Tony Khan needs to sit everyone down and air everything out before it gets worse. The big thing that started all this is that Colt Cabana is not in the Dark Order with no angle and stopped being brought to television. He was going to be cut, but Khan signed him for Ring of Honor. This is really the catalyst of everything, although different people have different stories as to why it happened, including Page and Punk. But even if that didn't happen, it was probably going to happen for something else, just given the nature of the different personalities involved. It feels like a number of people are close to their breaking point if things don't get settled. And this was your pro wrestling news update. I hope you're all having a great day. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you later.